Alright, we ready to roll. Welcome to Speed Gaming 2, this Zelda 2 tournament match between Cantaloupeme and Xarnax42. I'm Dan_H, and we're off and running. First goal is to the Magic Cave, where 90% of resets happen. Gonna be looking for a P-Bag drop on kill number 6. And here we go, Cantaloupe's got the standard strategy, gets the P-Bag drop, exciting for him. Xarnax with the boat strats, gets a blue jar drop. We'll see if he goes to the Dark Trophy Cave. Interesting walk to Dark Trophy for Xarnax. It's actually quite a bit easier to take the narrow path like you would be going to the town and go to the right of the Northern Palace and then just walk straight up, guaranteed to never get an encounter. Cantaloupeme gonna get the shield spell. Creepy old man in red dress lady's basement. We'll give you that spell. Shield spell does not strengthen a shield, it just cuts your damage in half. Blue ring style on Zelda 1. Alright, so Cantaloupe walk into the connecting cave to Parappa Desert. Sets up a little encounter manipulation walk to avoid those encounters in the woods. Louder, super fast. Cantaloupe doesn't jump him. That's no big deal. He's gonna be walking towards the heart container now. Instead of his walk for bubble skip, he's gonna duck into this little nook here. Wait for encounters to spawn. And does not get bubble skip. We'll see if he goes back. Nah, just gonna walk right through it. Taking an encounter on this exact tile will actually help have you skip this forced encounter and just take a road tile encounter. It saves probably 8 seconds or so. Xarnax takes an encounter in the woods. And as he should be, Cantaloupe is canceling his level ups. No burning couches, this is not random. Although we all wish it were. Bubble encounter on the way back is always far, far more dangerous because bubbles will always knock you to the right. Xarnax just gonna power through onto his heart container, and we are in Palace 1. Now, since this is the 100% all keys tournament, we will be getting all the keys in this palace. Cantaloupe heading left here for the very first one. He's going to be taking his first level up near the 3rd key obtained when he kills a Doom Rattler. Let's check out Xarnax's bubble walk. That one probably could have been jumped, but he's taking it a little bit safe, which is a good idea, especially in a race setting. Xarnax gets a little bit of a random walk from that small encounter, but the small encounter avoids him pretty well. Yeah, 100% all keys is do not ferry through doors. You can ferry through the doors, but you have to have a key to open it. You have to have a key for every single lock that you go past. And plus, since it's 100%, you need all spells and all items, but not all levels. So Cantaloupe, you saw jumping over those 2 Stalfos. The two Stalfos are worth 30 XP, but are part of the large enemy drop group. Jumping over them shifts his drop, which is either going to be a 200 P bag or a red jar, and it actually gains him 20 experience, which is quite necessary. Takes his attack level. You want to be at levels 411 coming out of this palace. Makes Death Mountain a lot easier. Then you don't have to kill as many enemies in Palace 2 either. Xarnax getting a 50 drop. That'll go a long way to helping him get attack 4 out of this. So if you ferry through a door without a key, that is a DQ. It actually happened in last year's tournament, I believe. A person missed a jump in Palace 4 and decided, well, I'm just gonna ferry right back to the top of this, or ferry through a door, go back to the top of this elevator, and then come back down, and then I'll have a key to go through that door the second time. And Prez informed him, hey, you can't do that. So he took a loss. I don't remember who that was, but yeah. Cantaloupe showing the standard mastery of the jump slash and the jump crouch slash. That's combat 101 in this game. If you have a key and cast Fairy while going through a door, you will unlock that door. Xarnax down to a bar and a half of life. Gonna need to be careful on this bot bridge. Bots are supposedly the easiest enemies in the game, but they are by far the trolliest. Because they are completely random in their movement. They will jump at you at the most inopportune times. So hopefully Xarnax survives his way back. Cantaloupe getting double red jarred. He will be 3-1-1 coming out of here. With his ability, Death Mountain shouldn't be too much trouble, but he's going to be kind of at the mercy of drops to get to his attack 6 coming out of Palace 2. Xarnax with the jar. He will have one more chance to get a P-bag. Bypasses the fairy. Good for you, Xarnax. Go after him. Yeah, one credit clear not required for the tournament because anything can happen in a tournament race. If you happen to game over, the rule is you have to walk all the way back to the screen in which you game overed. So if you choose to pick up the hammer and then intentionally death abuse to save time walking through the overworld, the way to get around that for tournament's sake, red jar for Xarnax, that sucks. So for tournament's sake, race sake, you gotta do that so that you can't death abuse strategically. Yes, basically what it comes down to is that if you're going to go past a key door you must have a key for that door. So in cases where you can get a ceiling walk, such as in Palace 6, you are bypassing that key door, but you have a key for it. So Cantaloupe picked up his trophy and is now getting the jump spell. Since Xarnax did Dark Trophy Cave, he will be just walking straight to the town of whatever town this is. And now heading on down south to the jump cave. Drumboardist has it pretty much correct. I don't know how much better you can explain it than that. So, crappy thing about Attack 3, these gorillas take one more hit to kill. And then in Death Mountain, the orange and red Dairas will take 2 extra hits to kill. Faring through a door when you have a key will possibly happen a couple times in this run. And I'll explain part of that mechanic when we get the fairy spell, but I might as well explain it now. When you pick up an item, whether it's the candle or a heart container or the glove, whatever, you pick up that item, Link will hold it above his head and the fanfare will play, the music will play. And it pauses, he just stands there for like 3 seconds. If you pick up an item as a fairy, it'll bypass Link standing there and you can just keep moving on. So it saves a minimal amount of time. So welcome to Lifetown on Cantaloupe's screen. He had 0 encounters to Bagoo, which is pretty incredible. There's a setup to do, but it's not 100% guaranteed because of the swamp. Moving so slow in the swamp tile, Xarnax takes a second encounter. And Cantaloupe has already picked up his mirror and gained access to Life Spell. Xarnax takes a third encounter on the way to Bagoo. More than likely that magic level up will be just fine. It'll depend on how many drops he gets in Death Mountain. How many 200 bags. But typically you can be 422 coming out of there, or coming out of Death Mountain with not too much trouble. So now we show Bagoo's note to Riverman, and Cantaloupe now crosses the river into Death Mountain. Death Mountain's a series of caves, somewhat maze-like, but you basically just pick the cave to the right and keep walking, and you'll get to the hammer every time. Bots showing off their trolliness. Three hits to kill these, I don't know what these spear-wielding guys are called. 3 hits instead of 2 at attack 3. Cantaloupe canceling his magic level up. A little bit low on life. Okay, he casts life. He wants Beam Sword for sure for this room. Bot number 1 moves away from him and he can't low beam him. He actually got that low beam properly. Ah, yes, moblins. Alright, Cantaloupe gonna come up onto his first red Daira. Little technique called the Daira jump. Bot tries to be trolly. Enemies on this game read your controller inputs. So jumping in the air and releasing the forward momentum or forward button will keep your momentum and you'll keep going towards the enemy, but the enemy will stop and you'll actually be able to hit him quite a bit easier. I'm getting a little bit of lag frames from Xarnax here. I'm not sure if that's me or his stream or the restream. But, I mean, Cantaloupe is going pretty well. Chat seems to be indicating, hey, maybe it's not just me. Cantaloupe was quite low on life there, but wound up eking his way out of that last cave into the red jar. I'm sorry. Gets past the jumping humpers just fine, and time for attack 4. Sounds like I'm delivering mail. What? I haven't heard about any different AI from the orange Daira before the hammer. Maybe just that he's underneath a ceiling, but that one is pretty standard. I've never noticed anything different. Rep answering a question. Speaking of Rep, Xarnax killing all the bits. Please, Xarnax, kill all the bits. Do it for Rep. Yes! Alright, Cantaloupe is making the long trek out of the Hammer Cave, and he's going to be taking getting his second magic jar. Gets a back spawn on the way out. And we'll see how Xarnax deals with the jumping humpers. Beautiful. Playing a little bit safe on this red Daira, because he didn't have the attack 4. You never want to walk off the screen as you're leveling up. People will actually stop and wait for their EXP counter to roll all the way past the next level, because if you walk off the screen on the same frame that you level up, you will soft lock the game. Cantaloupe setting up what is referred to as the boulder dash. He took an encounter on purpose, just one tile left of the boulder. And that sets up the walk so that both the time timed encounters and the step encounters will spawn at the same spot, and you can avoid both of them. And now into the medicine cave, as Xarnax is walking back from the hammer to the next magic container. I'm guessing Xarnax will take a life level once he picks up this magic container. Or, I mean, a life cast. Maybe not. Wow, Xarnax almost getting trolled by those encounters walking out of the cave. You'll see a lot of players duck back into that final Death Mountain cave. Cantaloupe getting trolled by a fairy. Says, hey, if you're gonna screw me over, I'll at least take my life refill. So walking out of the Magic Jar Cave in Death Mountain, you'll oftentimes see players duck back into a couple caves to avoid encounters. There's a few different strats to do there, but for the most part, you always want to avoid encounters. Each one you take costs you about 6 seconds on your total time. Xarnax making his way through the bubbles and the red Daira. Cantaloupe off to get down thrust. Xarnax rocking the graveyard 1-up. We'll see if he can get the boulder dash. Accidentally steps on a graveyard tile, causing the spawns to spawn closer to him, making it much harder to avoid them. Oh, rep, he'll be fine. One interesting thing to note, I'm not sure Xarnax did it because his stream was hiccuping. Because and it'll shift the drop for the large group to the 30-point blue Guria just before the heart container that they're gonna go get right after they get down Stab and Fairy, and then they'll make their walk into Palace 2 through the swamp. And I gotta refresh my restream, so I will be back in a second. Alright, so I see Cantaloupe picking up the heart as a fairy. That skips the animation where Link holds up his newly acquired item and shows off to the world what he just received. Looks like Xarnax is making his way back from the Medicine Cave, off to Downstab and Fairy Town. Cantaloupe making the walk to Palace 2 and gets the Heart Attack Fairy to spawn, but for the most part it avoids him. If you're wondering how encounters on the overworld behave, they are actually somewhat predictable. They are above or below you, they will move back and forth below you, and only break that pattern about 25% of the time. However, fairies always random walk. They will go anywhere they want and you can do nothing about it. Excuse me. I got a little bit of a cold, so my voice is... Hopefully my voice holds out the rest of the time. Alright, so Cantaloupe has his first key of Palace 2. And Xarnax picking up his fairy spell. And key number 2. One of the nice things about Downstab, not only does it make it much easier to bypass enemies, and much easier to kill most non-armored enemies like that bot there, there's also a technique called the jackhammer. When you stab your sword and hit enemies, they have iframes that are affected by that you can't hit them again. With your sword stab, there's just that little bit of what you call it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, though, with the down stab, that doesn't happen. You can mash the down button and repeatedly hit enemies. You'll see a perfect example of that coming up in Palace 3. Cantaloupe gets the key on the butt clinch bridge with no trouble, doesn't even ferry out of there. Xarnax chooses to duck inside this Peabag Cave before making the rest of the trek to Swamp Palace. Lots of encounters for him, spawning, makes it through okay. And that big encounter for him, decided to go on a random walk. Walked right into him. But 2 swamp encounters to Palace 2 is fairly typical. Cantaloupe does not put Link into Concussion Protocol. He does pick up the 50 bag. That'll most likely be necessary. Cantaloupe, you want to kill that bot. Ooh, so in this glove room, if a bot spawns out of that dripper thing, there's a possibility that the second red iron knuckle will despawn, which would cost Cantaloupe 100 EXP. Potentially, which is potentially bad. It looks like he's gonna be perfectly fine on experience to get to attack 6 coming out of this palace. But you never want to chance it. Xarnax making his way back from key number 1. Cantaloupe's going to be killing these orange iron knuckles. Typically you would bypass these guys, but experience points are at a premium right now. And that right there, taking a couple hits, demonstrates how you really need to be in a good rhythm against even orange iron knuckles. Because if you get off your rhythm just a little bit, they'll start stabbing, and then you'll have to kind of back off a little bit and retime your jump and your attacks. So with that 200 drop, Cantaloupe is perfectly good on his experience points. You could probably even take a magic level, although it's not really advised, because there's plenty of XP to go around in Palace 3. Excuse me. So Cantaloupe does take his magic level. And that'll be just fine. Xarnax approaching the butt clinch bridge. These bots are some of the scariest on the game. Interesting, I see that at some point Xarnax took life 3. Now it'll be quite difficult for him. He's gonna really have to rely on drops. To get to attack 6. Cantaloupe taking his final life level, and it looks he looks good on XP. You need 200 XP coming out of or when you go fight the boss of this dungeon. And then he'll be able to place the gem, get all his XP for attack 6, and then head on out of here. Xarnax also avoiding concussion protocol. Quick work of boss 2, Helmet Head. Xarnax also casting Fairy to pick up his handy glove. The glove allows you to break blocks. Completely required in all categories of Zelda 2. Why is Xarnax behind? Because Cantaloupe's really good. There's no two ways about that. Cantaloupe's PB is in the 76-minute area. I believe Xarnax has a 127 or 126. He informed me that, so if you're watching on multi-Twitch, Xarnax has 126 something as his PB on his timer. But he told me before the race that that is actually not a 1cc run. I wasn't really paying attention to how many encounters Cantaloupe took on his Palace 2 exit. Seemed okay. Palace 2 exit is one of the most volatile parts of the run. You're really at the mercy of all the encounters. Cantaloupe misses a little bit of a slink entering Palace 3. Decides not to even try for the jar on that statue. In Palaces 3, 4, and 6, if there are statues that can spawn red jars, there's also a 50-50 shot of spawning a red iron knuckle. Cantaloupe in chat as Xarnax takes a death. A friendly Doom Rattler. That is an excellent drop for Xarnax. He will now get to attack 6 coming out of this place. He's got to make sure he's at 200 experience though, which will happen with this kill. So we're good to roll. It's cutting it a tad close for him on the soft lock. Cantaloupe picks up the outside key. This is the only instance that you'll ever go outside of a palace while you're in the palace. Kind of unique to this dungeon. I always thought that since this palace is kind of next to the mountains, it's kind of built into the mountain. And that's why you have that little outside excursion. Cantaloupe taking it fairly safe on the bot area, lava bot room. And there's your jackhammer. One more hit, there we go. Cantaloupe gonna cast Jump on the return from the lava bot room, most likely. Jump just gives you a little bit extra leeway when going up against these bots. They always have a tendency to, well, that one just suicided for him, so that's good. Excuse me again. Cantaloupe wisely avoiding the Never Jar. There's a 50-50 shot of in the room before, one of the statues you can stab will either spawn an Iron Knuckle or a red jar. And it never seems to give you a jar, so you never stab it, even though you're completely out of magic. And our first instance of a Minecraft room. Create those steps. You get the heck out of there with these statues with projectiles constantly bombarding you from each side. Xarnax has killed a few enemies already in Palace 3. One Doom Rattler and that jumpy, stabby Stalfos. He may take a magic level in the next room so that he can cast Jump to get outside. I know I always like to have Jump to cast on this next room. Yeah. And cancels it. Cantaloupe fighting Ribbonak. Takes him down quite easily. There's a way to kill Ribbonak, the mounted Iron Knuckle. Ooh, come on, Xarnax. There we go. And that's exactly why I like to cast Jump in that room. So there's a way to kill the mounted Iron Knuckle by standing 1.5 tiles to the right of the center of the room. Down stab him, he'll stop exactly at the left-hand side, and then you just kind of hop on and keep down stabbing. And for some reason, when Rebo dismounts, he will start, and you down stab him on the left side of the room, he still takes damage over there. Not sure why. Nice little beam from Xarnax there to kill that nasty bot. Now Cantaloupe's gonna make his way to the eastern continent. Nice jackhammer from Xarnax on his way to the raft. Well done. Cantaloupe off to Firetown. The town with the hardest working woman in the world. So in this town, you get this fire spell, which is pretty much useless, especially in an all keys. Well, just about every category fire is useless. When all else fails, use fire to kill Tektites and Zoras. But that woman, being the hard worker that she is, lives 20 feet from a fountain, and she's thirsty. But instead of walking to the fountain and getting water herself, she says, "Hey, you stranger with a sword, go get me water." And then she rewards you with the fire spell. The nasty old man sitting in his basement tying flies so that he can go fishing tells you, "Hey, shoot fire out of your sword. That'll work." So Xarnax digging Neki out of the Minecraft room. And Cantaloupe leaving the town of Naburu. Best town ever. Those 2 extra steps Cantaloupe took were encounter manipulation. Now he'll be guaranteed to walk all the way to the maze with an encounter. Or without a fairy encounter spawning. Maybe that's what I should say. So he got the ideal pattern, steps up onto that desert tile so that the encounters spawn a little bit farther away. Encounters will spawn 1 tile away from you when you're in the woods, or grave, or, what's the other one? The lava tiles. But on grass and swamp, sorry, holding my breath for Xarnax fight. He was one hit away from dying there. So, swamp, grass, and desert tiles, they will spawn 3 tiles away. I'm hitting my mic. Okay, well, I must be moving my head slightly. Maybe that's the mailbox thing Drummy was talking about earlier. Cantaloupe gets a nice dazzle walk, but then accidentally presses to the right instead of up. Yes, it must be the headset. I will tilt my head to the left since the mic is coming off the right side. The right earpiece. And if I move my head to the right, I guess it's bumping into my shoulder or something, I don't know. Alright. Cantaloupe walking into Reflect Town. He will get the Reflect spell and the Upstab sword technique. No, that's it. I'm glad that you guys told me about it. Cantaloupe using Fairy Claws to get into this chimney. Thank you, Highlander GCB. And I shall Fire Rant for Xarnax as well. He's in the fire town of Naburu. Blaming mistakes on Dan. Thank you, Cantaloupe. Go to the fountain, get water. Now, Link doesn't have any jars in this game, besides magic jars. I wonder if he keeps... When he stabs the magic jars, that kind of opens the top, drinks the magic potion, and then he keeps those jars around so that he can fill water in that one fountain and bring it to this woman. Is that how that mechanic works? Because you don't pick up bottles in this game. Alright. So, tra-la-la-la-la, we're in towns, there's not much to talk about now. You know, how's the weather, everyone? It's far too warm where I live. Used to get below freezing so I can go ice fishing. And we're pretty much both exiting our towns at the same time. Gonna get a pseudo high five, possibly. Xarnax gonna make his way to the maze for the first time. Gets good encounters. Now, with that backspawn, he can walk straight to the bridge. And he does. So just a couple fewer steps. Not too significant. Cantaloupe misses his second encounter skip. That's not such a bad thing. This encounter doesn't take too long. It's not very difficult. And what's nice about going through that encounter tile, you get one extra step before encounters spawn right here. So Cantaloupe took one encounter. Pretty hard to avoid those. He should be able to make it all the way to the maze from here, though. One encounter on the return is always excellent. Who's ahead? Cantaloupe is ahead by quite a lot, I would say. And Xarnax moved up into the woods one tile too soon and got some encounters spawning right next to him. I'm not sure if he got that encounter skip. Hopefully you pushed up, Xarnax. Nah. And that encounter skip worked. Cantaloupe walking his way, making his way through the one encounter you really can't avoid. And now he's gonna take what seems like the longest walk through this maze island. But this is actually the shortest way to go because they're little forced encounters placed at the most inconvenient spots throughout this entire maze. So if you take the shortest path there, you'll actually wind up taking, like, I think 4 encounters? Not 100% sure. Sorry, I gotta mute again. Alright, lovely. I love being sick. Alright, where are we at? Looks like Cantaloupe has got the Jesus boots. Xarnax making his way back to the maze. Cantaloupe taking that death on purpose, refills your magic, and warps you back to the start of the screen. Saves you a couple seconds of walking. Yikes. Wisdom teeth. Still have my wisdom teeth. Never had to go through that garbage. Xarnax gonna be picking up his third magic container as Cantaloupe makes his way through Minecraft room number 2. Wizrobe spawns only semi-trolly for Cantaloupe, as Xarnax makes his way to the right side of the palace. Xarnax not casting jump over that pit. It's actually a fairly simple jump to make, but a lot of runners will cast jump to get over it because it is a huge time loss to miss that jump. And all these jumps over these little bits little flame bits are actually they're not pixel perfect, but I mean they're not easy. Xarnax got 2 out of 6. I would count that as a win. No, you won't be able to... Actually, he will be able to ferry the boots if he takes, because he's probably setting up for Magic 4. Yep. Magic 4 in this palace is fairly helpful because you can cast fire against the most RNG heavy boss in the game. And that manipulates the RNG to make it so that you always get perfect Karoks. That is not actually true, I'm making that up. Cantaloupe wisely taking shield. That was a rather crappy Karok fight for Cantaloupe. I think I counted like 12 of his beams missing. That's not like 100% the metric to go by, because certain spawns will always be better, but whatever. It's probably the simplest to go by. If you miss 0 shots, you're probably saving time. Little bit of a hiccup in the Minecraft room for Xarnax, but no worse for wear. Cantaloupe takes his attack gate. Not sure, I didn't see what spell he queued up after Palace 4 was done. Whether he's gonna go for Eco Key or not. Oh yes, jump queued up. He's gonna pause right about there. Try to get that damage boost from that skull, and picks up the Eco Key. No problem. Typically you have to ferry up that and then go off the screen and then come back on the screen to pick up that key. Every once in a while runners will forget that they didn't pick up that key and walk all the way to this door on this screen and realize, oops, I can't get through this door. And then you have to make the trek all the way back. Costs about 56 seconds. Not that I have ever done that before. We've all done it. Actually, when both Cantaloupe and I were chasing our sub-80s, we did it like within 3 days of each other. Potential sub-80 runs axed because we forgot the Eco Key. Cantaloupe gets through the block room fairly okay. You need the blocks to stack up at least 2 high to be able to reach that key. Official rules list. It probably explains it pretty well on speedrun.com for the 4.6 million categories of this game. What you have to do for each and every one. Basically 100% all keys. You have to get all items, and then all spells, and you have to have a key for every door you pass by. That's the gist of it. You don't have to max out your levels to 888. Yes, all life and all heart containers as well. You actually need all magic containers to obtain all the spells. Like, each particular spell costs a certain number of magic containers before whoever you talk to lets you into their house. So the first 4 spells are technically free, because you start the game with 4 magic bars. But then if you don't ever get any fire magic containers, and you try to get the fire spell, you will not be let in. You'll be told something like, come back when you're ready. And then reflect spell requires 6 magic bars, spell 7, thunder 8. So Cantaloupe went for the swag key before going to get the plunger. And Xarnax is making his walk to Palace 5. The plunger is actually a musical instrument. Interesting strategy here from Xarnax. I wonder if he's doing a 7-8-8 strats. Instead of taking attack 8 there, he took magic 7 and life 5. And also going for the eco key. And that's the trouble with going for that. Now, interesting, since he did take magic 7, normally if you miss eco key, you've cast jump and cast fairy, you're out of magic. But at magic 7, he still has a little over 3 bars left, so he'll be able to cast jump, which only costs 12 at magic 7. He'll still be able to cast jump in the block key room. So he's really no worse for wear for missing that. Cantaloupe to pick up his final key in this longest of dungeons. The real, true first maze-like dungeon in the game. Or palace, I guess I should say. Xarnax gets his 4-block high stack and can move on. Yeah, Palace 5 is pretty much every other palace. You have to visit every single room to pick up the item and pick up all the keys. Palace 5 finally there's a couple routes that diverges off from the actual path. Alright, and now welcome to the land of Hyrule boss Guma. Little attempted jackhammer strat from Cantaloupe. It was an okay fight. Meanwhile, Xarnax walking through the invisible wall. You get told about that by some NPC in Reflect Town. And he'll be off to get his plunger. And I had Cantaloupe's screen freeze for a second. Anywho, we're okay. Cantaloupe doesn't soft lock, picks up the heart container as a fairy. Gonna go for the river dance. He took one extra step in the water, and now he's gonna trigger an encounter on this very last grass tile. Thankfully doesn't get a fairy, and now he can walk all the way to the river monster. Takes a perfect encounter skip. Well done. And then avoids the attack 9. He's gonna go get levels of 8, 6, and 6. Taking attack 9 does absolutely nothing. It's actually really bad, because you're not gonna get your proper magic and life levels. But you do get a 1-up. So 1 extra death abuse in the Great Palace. If you take attack 9, which you would need because you need to cast Thunder on the penultimate boss, I should say. Thunderbird. Xarnax just ferrying past those 2 Iron Knuckles to pick up his plunger. Cantaloupe gonna step onto this bridge tile to reset the encounter spawns. 1 step into the swamp to make these guys spawn farther away, and then takes a pretty much unavoidable encounter in the woods. And gets a nice back spawn. Alright, sweet. One of the few uses of fire that's actually viable. Some players like to actually set up a drop on that screen, cast fire and use it on those Tektites, and hope for a red jar. Then you don't have to stop and talk to the magic lady in Spell Town, the town of New Kasuto. So 3 things to obtain in this town. We're gonna talk to the magic lady, then talk to the old man living in a chimney. I don't know why he's got a basement underneath his fireplace, but that's old men for you. Then we're gonna use that spell that we obtain in here to go to the east side of town, cast it, hopefully do a really dumb pose, and then pick up the magic key. The magic key is one of the items for the 100% requirement, and also it is a key. So this being all keys, well, you're gonna have to pick up that key anyway. Xarnax taking the top route in this final key room of Palace 5. Cantaloupe, 0 of 10 pose. I've always said that people who are speedrunning this game seriously will never pose there. They've got too much on their mind. Interestingly enough, he doesn't cast Fairy to pick up that item. He may or may not be kicking himself for that. It only saves like 2.5 seconds, so no big deal. I'm sure he'll cast Fairy to pick up the final item in this town, which is a magic container. Xarnax with a little bit of jackhammer strat on boss Guma. Well done, sir. I would consider that a better fight than the one Cantaloupe had, but since Xarnax is at attack 7, it probably took a little bit longer. Now he'll go grab his heart container, cast Fairy to pick it up, and then hopefully set up the river dance. One nice little mechanic at the gems, you can actually pause the game while the fanfare is playing after placing the gem, and select your spell without losing any time. It's one thing to always try to remember, but it doesn't always happen when you're focused on splitting and trying to properly play the game. Cantaloupe gets 1 encounter on the way to his heart container. Xarnax misses the first river skip, the first Wilson screen skip. And Cantaloupe got the heart container tile skip. One of several places that you actually don't want that to happen. And now, Palace 6. entering into Palace 6, the game kinda tells you, hey, you need something before you come in here, by placing that locked door right at the very start. Kinda shoving you towards New Kasuto. Cantaloupe is very far ahead. Cantaloupe will probably be finishing this palace up as Xarnax enters it. Maybe they can give each other a high five. Xarnax casting fire on the Tektites. Takes 2 hits to kill at attack 7. And Cantaloupe in the Canadian pit room. Jar drop, always a welcome sight in Palace 6. And jump. That specific spot that Cantaloupe jumped is actually an invisible hole. We refer to that as the Canadian pit, because a lot of Canadian runners seem to fall into it over the course of about 2 weeks a couple of years ago. Jumpless jump of the Canadian pit. GG Cantaloupe. I mean, it's just a 4-tile wide jump, but still risky. Not nearly as risky on the way back from the cross, which is why you definitely cast jump on the way to it. Downstab pose from Xarnax when he casts spell for the World Boner. 6 out of 10 pose. And Xarnax properly casting Fairy. Cantaloupe setting up the ceiling walk. Didn't get it, I don't think. You can actually land on the ceiling above that and walk over that locked door. Saves like 1.5 seconds or something like that. Probably less if you try to do a setup for it. Xarnax with Magic Container on his way out of New Kasuto. Cantaloupe thinks he's being funny by dropping down into the lava just before casting Fairy. We know your game. We knew that wasn't gonna happen. Alright, final Rebo fight for Cantaloupe. Fairly quick dismount. Takes a shot or 2 for his trouble. A good, fairly clean fight. And Xarnax with a standard 2 encounters before the heart container. Ceiling walk is allowed in this category because technically you have a key for that, for the door that you bypass, and it's not really out of bounds. Actually, for other categories, you kind of try to bank on that ceiling walk. It's actually very helpful, especially the New Game Plus any percent. Cantaloupe faring over this first bridge encounter. As he should, because it's a free cast. Probably won't on the next two, because he wants to save his magic, or the Valley of Death. Where hopefully he'll be making good use of the spell. Xarnax off to jump over the Canadian pit. Decides to let that... Whew. Always makes me nervous when people don't cast jump in that room. Xarnax let go of the red jar. The next magic level happens at 6,000. So he's not going to reach that. And with the amount of... I mean, he actually does not have enough to cast Fairy a second time here. So maybe he's planning on doing a Death Abuse on that first lava screen, which forces the Fairy cast. Maybe he'll get a red jar. He's got a couple opportunities. Alright. Well done. And then Pit. I mean, honestly, just cast jump, people. Cantaloupe not using the spell. There we go. There's spell. First encounter skip accomplished for Cantaloupe. Two for two. So far, pretty good Valley of Death. Most of the time, if you get the encounters to spawn above you when you go for the skips, you're gonna be in good shape. If you miss a single one, though, they tend to try to troll you a lot. 'Cause oh, you killed Max. So if you miss one, you want to back out of the screen, the forced encounter tiles, because they are horrendous. I'm not sure if he got that skip. Would have fallen in that lava. Quick cast of Fairy. Ooh, he did get it. Alright, so 3 for 3 for Cantaloupe. But as I was trying to say, if you miss one and back out of those screens because they suck to play through, you're gonna be in for a world of hurt. Because the encounters tend to become a little bit more random walk. Even when they spawn just above you, they'll move off to the side and move around. You won't be able to get the easy just walk up one tile and skip. Oh, I didn't realize that either. Fiesel's in charge of the restream, and he's a busy man. The 4 speed gaming channels, constantly doing Link to the Past randomizer, Zelda 2 tournament, Zelda 1 randomizer tournament. There's always about 18 tournaments going on those channels. And speaking of Fiesel, there are 2 more matches going on tonight. I think Jay Coper versus Highlander GCB is happening right now. And then there's one more at, I don't know, 10 p.m. Eastern. Cantaloupe in a little bit of trouble here. Beakula kills him. He's got plenty of lives left, though. Misses that tough little jump right there. You always want to jump, hit that jump button 2 tiles away from the blocks, and then kind of slide over to B. And if you got full momentum, you'll wind up on the 5th tile high. Bird Knights can only jump 3 tiles up, so you always want to be 4 or 5 tiles high so that they can't follow you. And Xarnax crossing the bridges again. Off to Valiant. Oh, hello, Bluebird Knight. What a jerk. Xarnax takes a hit on this final bridge. Most of the time, if you can just walk through cleanly, you're not going to be in danger. But if you take one hit, that starts becoming troublesome. And Cantaloupe has worked his experience perfectly, unless for some reason he gets a drop in the next room. But he should be able to kill these 2 Mews on the bridge for 20 EXP and a magic refill. Beautiful. So off to the second to last boss of the game, Thunderbird. The standard complement of spells, shield, jump, and reflect. Reflect shrinks your hitbox, makes it harder for these little flames to hit you, and it also allows you to block them. Shield, of course, cuts your damage taken in half, and jump allows you to hit much more, makes the fight a lot quicker. Xarnax also kills Scorpion _Max. No love for Max today. Cantaloupe hasn't cast Fire against Dark Link, which is an automatic DQ. Oh, hello, Xarnax. Walking through one of the forced encounter tiles and pays the price for it. Oh, there we go. Good job, Cantaloupe. Fire. And done for Cantaloupe. Official SRL time 1:18:38. GG to the winner. And we switch audio over to Xarnax. Alright. We'll see if Cantaloupe wants to come into commentary. I hear something.
Hello, Mr. Dan.
Hello, Mr. Fapalope. Well done.
No, thank you.
I mean, not exactly the race you wanted at 118, but a win's a win. A sub 80 is a sub 80.
Yeah, I struggled with encounters. I've started keeping track of my encounters that I have in the run, and on my encounter thing, I had 14 unwanted encounters.
Well, so 14 times 6 is something. I'm not going to do that math.
Well, let's see here. Times 10 would be a minute, so then 6 times 4 is 24, so a minute 24.
That's not too bad.
Man, I wasn't racing you, so I wasn't too worried about, the Valley of Death stuff, because only when I race you, I get trolled in Valley of Death.
Well, that's actually my encounter manipulation strats. When I go to Dark Trophy Cave, that causes my opponent to always get trolled in VOD.
Mm-hmm.
See, Xarnax went to Dark Trophy, but then he got a 50 P-Bag in Palace 1, so it didn't work out for him.
Did he still have Attack 4, though?
Interestingly enough, both of you guys had Attack 3 Death Mountain.
Oh, wow.
And both of you guys still finished with 4-2-3 levels after Palace 2. Or, I mean, 6-2-3 levels after Palace 2.
Well,
so, plenty of P-Bags dropping in that.
For
Sorry,
sure.
I'm interrupting.
Oh, it's fine. No, I was interrupting you. It's my fault. But no, I think I had 4 or 5 P-Bag drops on the way to the end of Palace 2. It was pretty nice.
Yeah. Alright, Xarnax dealing with Beakula here. And, ooh, that's tough. Once you break that 4th block high, it's never gonna be easy.
Ooh.
And I'm not sure how many lives he has left. I didn't see that part. He should be fine. Gets the proper jump this time. Alright, so anything else on the race that you felt like you did well or did poorly?
Well, the only thing I can say I did well, that's the first time I've nailed Eco Key in a race, and I practiced it a few times before the race, and of course in practice you hit it, 9 out of 10 times. I was like, what the heck, we'll go for it if if I have a chance at a drop from the Iron Knuckles, and I kept track of my drop on Palace 4, so I knew one of those two was either going to be a P-Bag or a red jar, so I was like, okay, well, we'll give it a go.
Yeah. I really liked your walk back to the maze. You only had one forest encounter. That's always pretty solid.
Yeah, on the way to Reflect Town, I hit the dazzle. I'm going to hit the thing, and for some reason, my thumb wanted to hit right instead of up for the encounter, and I was like, "Oh, come on!"
I do remember seeing that. I thought you were playing on the Wii VC there for a second with the tiny Wiimote D-pad.
I got big thumbs anyway, so it don't matter what control. I need like the directional pad forgiveness of this, but the size of the original Xbox controller. If I had that, this stuff wouldn't happen.
The original Xbox controller. Now those controllers like the face. They've slimmed them down a little bit though. Eventually. So pretty sure Xarnax has enough. Yeah, he's got enough to cast Thunder, but possibly Shield here. He's on Thunderbird, doing pendulum strats, the proper way to take on Thunderbird.
Did he do 788 or 877?
He's at 778 right now. He took Magic and Life levels going into Palace 5.
Ah, I gotcha. That makes Eco Key Freako Key then.
Yeah, exactly. And he did go for it, but missed it.
So, that's a PB for Xarnax, I think.
Yeah, he's at 124.30. His official PB is in the 127 range, he said. The one on his timer is actually with a game over. So, not able to cast fire or just choosing not to, so this is a disqualification for him. This PB will not count, and very well done to Xarnax at 124. Looked like about 124.49 or so. He probably typed his .done in a little bit quicker. Official SRL time, 124.51.
Well done
to him. We'll see if we can get him in to the commentary. I mean, PBing in a race is always exceptional.
Oh yes, definitely. Nothing wrong with that. I had a feeling he had PB. He's much better than his PB. He's very experienced with Zelda 2 Rando.
Yeah, that randomizer, man. That I've played it once, and it pretty much handed me my ass.
Yeah, it's good, but Dick Shake did a wonderful job with it. It's a great program, just ain't for me.
Looks like we got Xarnax in here now. Grats on the PB, and GG, sir.
Thank you.
Well done.
So, what about that race what about that run was so much better than your previous ones that you got like a 2-minute personal best?
Well, my PB, there's usually always at least one really stupid death in my runs. My PB, actually, I don't remember. I think PB and I think fell down in Palace 6 like twice. The first jump where you need to like cycle through.
Oh yes, the first
that
bit.
spot.
And the Canadian hole. My time PB, I knew I had a ton of time to gain because my PB on my timer had a death in Valley of Death. Had a game over. So not game overing there. It was an automatic 1.5-minute time save.
Nice.
Or more.
And this is even with Dark Trophy plus double red jar in Palace 1, so Attack 3, Death Mountain. And extra kills in Palace 2 always cost a lot of time.
Yeah.
So plenty more time to save right there by just grinding out a decent P-Bag drop in Magic Cave and Palace 1.
Right.
Yeah, I had Attack 3 also. I got the P-Bag and Magic Cave, but I got double red yard.
Yeah, same here. I'm really kind of disappointed because I think the highlight of my run was completely over. I was listening to the restream, and hopefully chat mentioned it, but I know I didn't hear anything about. I had a jumpless 1-cycle Attack 7 Barba that I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was muted at that point and coughing.
Fair enough.
Hey, that's good though. Yumpless Yak with Attack 7's pretty epic.
Yeah, pretty.
Yeah, that's a tough strat to do.
Xarnax also went through a forced encounter tile in Valley of Death. You tried to go through it once without fairy, you wound up getting knocked into the lava. And then I think the second time you just ferried right away and said, screw this, I'm not fighting anything.
Yeah, I tried to skip it like 3 times. And a lot of my decision making was really questionable just because I knew it was being restreamed, and I knew that in terms of it being a race, it wasn't a good show because there was about a 5-minute gap. I was hoping to find other ways to make it interesting.
Well, as Cantaloupe knows, those Valley of Death tiles are always fun.
Oh yes, Dan, they are. Yes, but
it also helped that I didn't have I had very few. I had way more lives than I usually do. I don't remember why. Oh, okay. I only death abused in 4 once, and I didn't. And I think I had 1 unexpected death in Palace 2.
Yep, to the Doom Rattler.
But yeah, I only death abused in 4 once, so I had a whole bunch of lives, and so I knew I could be a little bit reckless.
Yeah, it always seems in Valley of Death, if you miss an encounter skip 1 time, and you walk into that encounter and then back out and then try it again, the encounter spawns are just going to move around you for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an actual mechanic of the game. Probably Simple or Prez or JN would have to confirm it, but it just seems that way to me. It always happens like that. But, alright, that's... Unless you guys have anything to say to each other or to the fans on Speed Gaming 2, streaming for the millions.
And millions.
I'm gonna say we're about ready to sign off, so any last words?
Thanks for taking up the commentary. Thanks for Feasel for hosting and the restream.
Definitely.
And GG to you, man. Good luck in the brackets.
Thank you. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I meet Dan in the brackets.
Please no. I don't want to... So, to anyone who doesn't know, me and Cantaloupe always have a little side wagers whenever we have to meet up in Zelda tournaments, and we always make each other play some really bad Super Nintendo game.
Yeah.
So I want him to play PTO, Pacific Theater of Operations. He wants me to play. What did you say that I was gonna play?
I haven't told you yet.
Well, it's gonna be awful.
Yes.
If there's a SNES version of Karnov, I'm sure that's what it would be. Last year, Cantaloupe got to oblige everyone by playing Super Black Bass. Actually, that just happened like in September or something.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely thanks guys for putting this on. Thank you for commentary, and I'll see you in January, Xarnax.
Yeah, a few weeks.
For sure.
Yes. AGDQ. Alright, well, that's all for me.